Excellency Dr. Yukio Hatoyama, the 93rd Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Chen Zhifu, the convener of the Executive Council of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, Dr. Jan Matson, former head of UNOPS, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure and honor for me to be here on the occasion of the official opening of the Social Impact Investment and Sustainability Forum, organized in the Asia Society of Hong Kong. Let me express my sincere gratitude to the organizers for inviting me to share some insights at this occasion. We are here today to discuss a bit about social impact investment and sustainability. Now, we can't discuss that in the absence of the context, because the context makes the subject even more significant. COVID-19 crisis is unprecedented in many ways, both in scope and magnitude, stretching country capacities beyond their limits. If you go back to 2019, the global growth was already the slowest since the global financial crisis of 2008, 2009. And now the mitigation measures to control the virus, the quarantines, the travel restrictions, the border closures, and finding the resources for vaccinating an 8 billion population across the planet has resulted in sharp and sustained reductions in demand and supply. And I don't need to emphasize further that COVID-19 has made our economies fragile, much more as compared to what it was before. But at the same time, we need to consider one fact, that COVID-19 did not happen in a vacuum. It happened because of our lack of respect for Mother Nature. And if we don't mend our ways, it will only get worse from here on. COVID-19 would certainly not be the last pandemic that humanity has confronted. A study that was published recently by the UN Environment Programme and the International Livestock Research Institute tells us that about 75% of the new diseases that humanity has confronted in recent decades are zoonotic diseases. These are diseases where pathogens jump from animals to humans, and then, of course, from humans to humans. This is why we need to embrace environmental, social, and governance standards to strengthen the resilience of our societies, and more importantly, the private sector. Why the private sector? We talk about GDP. The global GDP is roughly about 30% in the public sector and about 70% in the private sector, of course. These are the macro numbers. If you go down to a country level, it might be a little different given how industrially advanced a country is or how strong the economic fundamentals are in any particular country. Now, COVID-19 requires us to both to revisit our relationship with nature, but also our response to what is certainly an existential crisis for humanity. Through COVID-19 recovery, we actually have the opportunity to create a period of growth and prosperity only if we open our eyes. And by that, we can really rebuild our economies and do much better than we are doing now. Central bank regulators need to think about ways to regulate and promote long-term sustainable finance and portfolio alignment approaches to sustainability challenges. We need to align financial portfolios with the actual needs of society, such as the climate change challenge and the SDGs. If you look at the evidence around us, whether it's the Siberian lakes where the permafrost is melting, or the ice sheets in the Arctic or Iceland, or actually the fact that this year the temperatures were the highest in recent history in the Arctic, and of course the fact that the west coast of the United States this year saw the decimation of 5 million acres of land across the West Coast. Go back to another 5-6 years, Indonesia lost about 6 million acres of forest and peatland. So this is not a rare occurrence. The situation is going to exacerbate further, and these evidences will keep mounting. I don't want to talk more about the challenges because that's there for everyone to see. We just need to make the connection between the challenges and the opportunity that's right in front of us. Over the last 12 years, the UNEP Finance Initiative has established global frameworks for the investment industry and insurance industry. The principles of responsible investment, the principles for sustainable insurance, and more recently, in 2019, the principles of responsible banking that the UN Secretary General launched along with the CEOs of close to 130 large international financial institutions. Another example of a portfolio alignment initiative, one which is focused on climate change, it's the Net Zero Asset Owners Alliance, a group of 30 large insurers and pension funds who have committed to fully decarbonizing their investment portfolios by 2050 and to set 5-year milestone targets along the way. Together, they manage in excess of $5 trillion in assets. And they're actually meeting later this month at the request of the Secretary General to discuss progress and to further fine-tune the roadmap. A positive development is that financial institutions and regulators are actually applying the lessons learned in the pandemic to climate and other sustainability risks. This is very, very encouraging. In the UK, for instance, pension funds now have to consider ESG risks, and the EU's landmark sustainable finance package coming into force in March will require asset managers to incorporate ESG risks like never before. In the second half of 2020, the Bank of China and the China Industrial Bank issued the first blue bonds. China Industrial Bank and Bank of Qingdao became the first Chinese banks to sign on to the Sustainable Blue Economy Finance Principles hosted by the UNEP Finance Initiative. We certainly expect that many more Chinese financial institutions will come on board. Just recently, last month, Yi Gan, governor of the People's Bank of China, said that China will proactively promote the convergence of domestic and international green finance standards through revision of domestic standards and international cooperation to facilitate international investors' participation in China's green finance market. In closing, let me say this. Financial regulators have rebuilt the financial system after the global financial crisis just about a little more than 10 years ago. We need to do exactly the same as we move towards recovery from COVID-19. COVID-19, as tragic as the pandemic is, as heartbreaking as it is, it also presents a tremendous opportunity for us to reset and to make sure that we do not repeat the same mistakes as earlier. It's a great opportunity for humanity to reset its relationship with nature. But the sustainability pathway requires new capacities within the financial community to better understand the impact of their financing and build corporate, community, and societal resilience to health, environment, and other shocks. Just going back a few centuries, banking as it started was banking with a purpose. There was a purpose to which people pooled in resources to create the pool of funds so that community assets can be built. Now, we need to move away from banking without a purpose to banking with a significant purpose. And that purpose has to be protecting Mother Nature so that she can protect us all. And with that, I would like to close by thanking the organizers, the Social Impact Investment and Procurement Foundation, as well as the co-organizers and other UN agencies for their excellent support for holding this international forum in Hong Kong. And lastly, I wish you very fruitful deliberations in not only identifying actions needed to combat post-pandemic difficulties for humankind, but to also elaborate on the thematic programs and activities for future support to UN SDGs. It is very important for us to keep in mind, while the regulatory frameworks and the tweaking of the financial system will make a lot of resources available for green investments, work still has to be done at the grassroots to create shovel-ready projects that are viable, that are meaningful, and that keep nature at the front and center of the business proposition. And that needs a lot of work at the grassroots, and it is very important for organizations such as the Social Impact Investment and Procurement Foundation and numerous others across the planet to take that head on and produce those investment possibilities so that the renewed finance system that wants to invest a lot in sustainability and green finance can find the projects and the programs to invest on. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again.